Do you believe in ghosts? I think the last time I believed in ghosts was when I was age 7. I had a friend in 2nd grade and he was really into Dungeons and Dragons. You know, that was his thing. Back in that time, there was nothing digital. I mean, computers hadn't really taken off, and you know, he's just really into that kind of mythology. And we had this kind of quid pro quo going on. At one point, I'm like, you know, I don't really believe in goblins. And then he was like, well, fine, I don't believe in ghosts either. So, you know, when I was that age or younger, I had nightmares. You know, for me, ghosts were very real. And, you know, they could come out of the nightlight or whatever, usually at dark, and scare you, and then they'd disappear if, you know, I looked at what I thought was a ghost. So, let me tell you some ghost stories. There's this guy, he moved into an apartment, and then basically he said the bed would move. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, and it would move at night. He'd wake up and find out that the bed had moved just a few inches, maybe a foot or something from where he had put it the previous night. And there were no earthquakes, so that was really surprising to him. So after a few nights of observation, he started to get freaked out. And then at one point, he noticed that the bed was moving with him in it at night, which really freaked him out. And so he, moved his bed to the living room, upon which he didn't really notice anything, and he tried to move out of there as fast as possible. So the story goes, and I know it sounds kind of like a cliche, but he found out that an old lady had been murdered by a burglar in that very spot where his bed was in the bedroom, and then nobody had stayed in that apartment for longer than 6 months after that happened. So take that as you will. You know, I know that sounds kind of made up, but it's just one thing I heard from a person I believe in, for the most part, you know, pretty logical guy. Not the type that you would expect to be on a TV show like Ghost Hunter or whatever. So I've had other stories, you know, some people close to me, some not. One was I was in a room with someone and I knew they were prone to being haunted by ghosts allegedly, and this was as an adult. It's not a well-lit room, but there were 2 windows, so there was like light coming in from 2 different directions, street lights at night, so I could see. And I noticed this person started having rapid eye movements, REM movements, where they sort of pseudo-blink with their eyes closed, of course, rapidly, and that's supposed to be indicative of, some state in which they're very prone to dreaming or having nightmares. So I stood up very quietly and I took, a vicious right hook and a kick over the airspace over this person. They're lying down, of course, sleeping. And then I woke them up, and this person said he had been haunted. So at that point I was like, hey, I inspected the room, I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything. This is a very secure place, and I swung at the air above you, so how do you explain that? Like, there was no ghost, in my opinion. And he said, that's not the way it works. If a ghost doesn't want you to see it, then you can't detect it. So, those are just 2 stories that I've heard of. There are many explanations in the world as to, what's going on, whether it's a underground river creating weird sounds, electromagnetism or whatnot. But in the end, it comes down to one question. It's like, besides, do you believe in ghosts? Let's just say they exist, and can they interact with matter? And I include making sounds in this, or light, because you need to interact with matter to say, make a sound. You're touching and then causing friction or an impact with a gas, solid, or liquid. So that's how a sound would be made. It's essentially an energy wave, a disturbance that comes to you, and then you detect it in your ears. So could they interact with matter that way, or could they possibly like turn off a light switch or turn on a power switch, for instance? In recent years, it's more popular to have ghost movies where ghosts are, manipulating electronics. So people are looking at a screen, a TV screen, or even LCD, and then they'll have like a ghostly visage appear, usually amongst a cliched backdrop of static, which is not really in existence anymore. You don't turn on TV and see a static just because there's no signal. But those are the kinds of things that are portrayed in movies and talked about. And then, the main character or the victims will get suspicious as to whether they had actually turned on or off an electronic device, and was it a ghost that actually manipulated that stuff. So, in the simplest terms, just by simple logic, it's not possible for a ghost to manipulate matter. From the very, just the fact that we all exist and we're not being killed in our sleep, or even when we're awake, means that ghosts cannot do this. Why? Because all it would take is one serial killer ghost, or any psychotic ghost, to manipulate matter, and it would spell doom, because according to a lot of these people, they can they can walk through walls, doors, teleport anywhere in the world and find you, even if they don't have an address. Or typically a lot of people say they hang around one place where they were wronged or they died, but in reality all it would take is just one ghost that can go around and teleport across the entire world and stab us in our sleep. Now, even if it can't move a kitchen knife, there are many, many ways in which, once the ghost can manipulate matter, it would spell doom. Like, let's say they could just move something a little bit. Well, if they keep a heart valve open or something, and since they can go through anything, reach through anything, right? I mean, you die. Or, if they can control electricity without physically touching switches, like in electronics, why couldn't they control electrical signals in our nervous system and cause us to crash our cars, or cause our brains to malfunction? I mean, there's just so many ways in which ghosts could just spell the end of humanity if that were the case. And it wouldn't matter if you were in a big castle in a secret location that had no connection to your previous activities in life, and surrounded by bodyguards, hidden in a secret room. I mean, the lights could be on, you could be surrounded by people watching you, and all it would take is one ghost to just teleport there or find you eventually, because they can scour the entire planet. It's not like they need food or they have something else to do or go to, but they could just go there and kill you in the middle of a crowd. So that's essentially my argument for why ghosts cannot do things like make noise, manipulate electronics. Even to be visible suggests that they're interfering with the matter in front of us. They're projecting photons, or maybe, if it's not completely opaque, if you see even an outline, that means there's something there, and it's interfering with the natural light bouncing around that gets to our eyes. So even that is somewhat of an interaction with the environment, and it would basically spell doom. Now, what about other animals? Do they have ghosts? What about fungi and bacteria and protists and things like that? So, once there were dinosaurs, and there's a very large class of titanosaurs that once existed in Argentina, modern-day Argentina, and they're the biggest land herbivores on Earth. So wouldn't one Argentinosaurus fill up an entire Argentinian apartment block these days? And if it could interact with matter, couldn't it just move around and swing its tail and destroy everything? So once you consider these things, many animals are very sentient, and they have thoughts and emotions. They may not be as smart as us, but they can definitely you can see the connection there. They could possibly be ghosts, right? According to people who believe in ghosts. So wouldn't they be able to just rest shop, and wouldn't the Earth just have overlapping ghosts, or do these go away or whatnot? So this is just a fun discussion. It's not something intended to be serious, but the whole ghost being able to spook us by interacting with the environment, that just doesn't fly. And furthermore, if they can't, then that means they wouldn't be overlapping with the Earth, because if they're not influenced by things like gravity and whatnot, the Earth is just spinning like crazy and revolving around the sun. So they'd only have a brief, fraction of a second or something where they're on the same plane as the surface, and to do something maybe once a year or, whatnot, against humans. So, this is all just fanciful discussion. I don't know how much you'd like these new kind of videos. It's just a talking head video where I'm going to talk about various subjects and random musings. So put your comments and thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.